Us in Baltimore and WNST.net. We are all engrossed in football and divisional playoff play this week. And, of course, I've been running around with the Caps and the Terps and the Wizards, but it's always baseball season around here. And even Dan Duquette made a trade last Friday with the Seattle Mariners. But this book hit my timeline, and it was sort of right up my alley because people say, well, hey, man, if you didn't do this sports radio thing and this journalism thing and writing books and writing for newspapers, what would you have done? And at the time, I loved baseball as a kid, and I played baseball as a kid, and I got a baseball family, but I never, ever, for a minute, thought about becoming a baseball scout, a baseball coach, anything other than like a broadcaster and a writer. This guy has written a book, he spent his whole life in baseball, about how to get involved in baseball. So I think it's a great topic. We welcome Bill Guyvette onto the program, a longtime baseball scout, general manager. We got many, many mutual friends, Bill, and I remember you from the Colorado Rockies in your days with the Dodgers as well, with Kevin Malone and Davey Johnson. Welcome to Baltimore, man. Congratulations on getting the book done.
Oh, thanks. And thanks for having me on, Nestor. It's nice of you. My career is complete now. I'm on the show.
You're done. You're done?
No.
Well, you're never really, it's like The Godfather, right? It's like the Mafia. Once you're in baseball forever, right? Like one way or another, right?
Well, that's what I mean. You're a friend of ours. That's what we say.
Well, I'm not friendly with the owner of the Orioles. The legend will tell you that once you Google it. But I've often seen people, right? So Theo Epstein is pretty much my age, a contemporary of mine, and he was the slappy in the corner in the media room, 19, 20, 21 years old, trying to get into the baseball business. I had many friends during that period of my life that drank beer with me, talked baseball with me. I'd see him at spring training in Fort Lauderdale and in ballparks everywhere. But it never occurred to me that other than if you played baseball, how to get involved in baseball. And there's a whole different world there now, I think, with BAM and, with the media side of things and now the organization, Street Baseball and marketing and all that. But the baseball side of scouting, I always felt like if you didn't throw a ball or hit a ball at a really high level, you'd really have an uphill battle getting involved in baseball.
Well, somebody said something to me. I was talking to a scout, and he told me it really rang true to me. And what he said was that, we're kind of the last generation of guys that worked their way to the front office through baseball, through the baseball side, going out to high school games and college games and scouting and working your way up through that way as a cross-checker or whatever into the front office.
Holding the little gun behind home plate, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's really coming through the more academic side now that's going, they start out in the front office and they work their way up in the front office. And, it's really true that people of, a lot of backgrounds now can enter into baseball and get their career going. And who knows? I mean, look at, like you said, Theo. I mean, he's in the book. I have a chart of some people in the book that where they started and where they ended up. And Theo's a PR guy in Baltimore, and there's not a lot of people that know that.
Well, it's an incredibly incestuous and tiny community of people because there's nothing else, right? You're either going to work for one of these 30 teams or you're not going to work in baseball, kind of, sort of, right? I mean, there's no other rung, and they control all the minor league parts of this as well. So as much as there are, 250 teams playing baseball around America, they're really run by 30 organizations and really kind of sort of 30 people. And if you're not in, you're kind of out, right? I mean, college baseball would be the other, being an educator at that point. But working in the industry of baseball, it's not a real broad, wide, crazy. There's a lot of demand. Everybody thinks it would be cool to work in baseball. And then you realize the long hours in the backfields and the cold mornings and, all of that kind of stuff. But you've written a book to try to, help people that are, I guess, my kids' age, right?
That's right. Well, what happened is my whole career, I'm getting phone calls and emails every day from people that want to spend 10 minutes of time on the phone that turns into 2 hours of me counseling them on how to get a job. So you tend not to return the phone calls at that point when half your day is spent counseling people. But it really is that you have to have evidence. And that's what I talk about in the book. You have to have evidence of some type of a career-related attribute that you hold that you can somehow show this evidence to even get an interview nowadays. I mean, how competitive it is And these guys are starting out. And I talked to a few on the phone because I'm still counseling some now of people that will call me, and I'll talk to them, and the work that they're doing now, the competition to get one of these jobs and to get in, I mean, it is absolutely amazing. A lot of us would never have been able to get in the game with the type of study that people and research and work that people are going to now to get in the game. It is really, really amazing. But you can do it. You don't have to just start your work with a major league club. You can start your work with, there's a lot of companies out there that do advanced statistical research that you can get a job with, or a lot of these college students don't know that, even while they're there, even though they don't play college baseball, they can get a job in the baseball operations type of position with their college team. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go about this to create the type of evidence you need to have one of these big shots running these clubs end up hiring you.
Well, I mean, you were a guy that played a little, community ball, and then you played some college ball, and you played some minor league ball. I saw guys like you as sort of a dime a dozen that one of you would wind up running a franchise, right? I mean, and every guy like you probably didn't want to run a franchise or manage a team. You just were trying to get on the field and play, right? I mean, that's where this whole thing began, which is I love baseball. I love playing baseball. Oh, I hurt my knee. Now what do I do, right? I mean, and you're still a young person, and you haven't made any money nobody makes any money in baseball until they get to the big leagues and make it in the big leagues. Until then, it's Campbell's soup. I mean, I was very, very familiar with that life,
Right, but the game has changed to the point that even as a younger person, even as a player, people are thinking and studying about what might happen later. Because, to be successful in Major League Baseball, you better be really passionate about baseball. That's the primary thing that you can bring to the table, because this is not punching a time clock. And I mean, you're working every day, all day. I mean, I got stories. I could sit, in Hawaii on vacation, sitting by the pool, negotiating with an agent, or while I'm supposed to be on vacation, let alone Christmas Eve where you're negotiating with an agent. You got to step out of the room when they're opening presents because you're trying to get some deal locked down. I mean, it's a life.
Yeah, it's not a lifestyle; it's a way of life. Literally, a way of life.
It is. It's a life. You're not choosing a career. You're choosing a life, and it can be very tough on the family and people around you because of all of the. Hey, I did 21 consecutive years of over 200 nights a year on the road.
Wow. That's more than any rock star. That's more than any touring rock band. That's more than Springsteen, for crying out loud, right?
Well, and Springsteen's not flying to Birmingham, Alabama on a 6:00 flight and then jumping on a plane after the first game of the tournament flying up to Nashville to watch another game.
But, Bill, that's a story of scouting. I hear the same thing from football scouts who are getting off a plane in North Dakota State to go see some tight end or whatever. And in baseball, it's extended way beyond that from an international standpoint. I mean, I've been over to Japan. I've been to Australia. Obviously, I'm Venezuelan, and I know what's going on in the Caribbean and, Cuba now with the situation we have with the country here, and I've been down there watching baseball as well. There's a global part of this where the best kids in the world that play this game usually haven't been on American soil. You've usually had to get a passport stamped here lately, right?
Hey, they brought me over to Tampa Bay before we had a major league club. And so I was supposed to help put all the minor league stuff together and whatever else. And then they threw at me, hey, by the way, we don't have any operations internationally. Can you fly over to Japan and in Korea and try to meet some people and I said, yeah, I'll go. So I'm landing in Japan, and I had the stewardess ride out, take me to the Hilton, because I was staying at the Tokyo Hilton. And now I'm trying to get on the subway train, and I just laughed. I said, here I am. You have to embrace that life. You have to embrace all these adventures that you're on. It sounds,
You just have to say, Bill, you just say
Japan and
just say konnichiwa. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you need, man. You get right through and get some sushi and get some noodles and stuff. Bill Guyvette joining us here. The book is out now, and it's brand new. It's called Do You Want to Work in Baseball? Advice to Acquire Employment in MLB and Mentorship in Scouting and Player Development. And Bill's been all over the world chasing baseball players through various organizations. I was going to say, man, you start down in Tampa Bay. You had the Wild Thing, Ricky Vaughn, down there to begin with, so you always knew you had the heater. And then you went to L.A. and you went to the Colorado Rockies. You wound up running the Rockies. during this period of time, like Moneyball happens on your watch, right? The steroid thing happens on your watch. The World Series gets shut down on your watch. And now, I cover a lot of football. You got the guys, including Dee Podesta, who was an intern with the Baltimore Bandits hockey team here 24 years ago. It started his career in hockey. He's now running a football team. The analytics side and the statistical side, and I am not a Sabre nerd. I'm trying to learn things above, wins above replacement and all that, but I'm a traditional back of the tops baseball card person. But this industry's run by statistics now, correct? I mean, if you're not a math major or willing to settle into that, unless you're Buck Showalter or someone of that era, Dusty Baker, no one's going to hire a 22-year-old that doesn't believe in stats, right? Doesn't believe in advanced statistics.
Yeah, but don't kid yourself. Buck's been doing that stuff for a long time. So, in fact, I was with the Yankees when he was the manager of the Yankees. So that's where I started a long time ago before I went to Montreal after that. But advanced analytical statistics are not going away. And that research to me, has really, really helped the game in a lot of ways. And I think what's happened is, because I'm one of those guys that when I started, there was no advanced analytical department.
There were no cards.
I mean, what are we talking about? Yeah, we didn't have anybody. You looked at some of the stats that the normal fans would look at. You look at the scouting reports, and you try to make the best decision you could, within the payroll limitations that you had for your club. So now, with this all coming in, and I'll tell you, over the course of time, what I've watched is people try to suppress it. And that's what happened is when I was, a little bit younger and doing whatever, and even as a scout with the Yankees, I can remember sitting with Larry Corrigan, who's scout for the Twins, and we were doing runs created because Bill James had came up with it. We were doing that in the California League at the A level. As we were scouting players professionally in the summer, we were scouting the young kids who were playing in the Cal League, and we're doing runs created by hand. So this stuff's been around, but we were some of the few that were actually using it. And as time went on, with the traditionalists in the game trying to suppress it and hold it back, they were doing a pretty good job for a while, and then the dam broke. Well, and once the dam broke, now it's all analytics, and the pendulum has swung pretty far in my estimation, and I assume that it'll kind of drift back a little bit. But because the other ways to evaluate players, either through a scout's eyes or the player themselves and what's inside of them, those things will never go away. But analytics right now has come to the forefront, and you know what? It should have.
Well, at what point did you buy in? What point did you say, all right, or was it really a slow and gradual build? Because, look, my dad's been dead since the summer of 92. He had Bill James books before he died. My dad loved baseball. We had him in the late 80s when he would wind up on talk shows like the one that I created here the last 25 years, and they'd have this baseball nerd from the Midwest on to talk about these things that he's discovered that aren't on the back of a Topps card or aren't in the Sporting News Baseball Record Almanac or whatever. But at some point, the people in the industry, guys like you that went from the dinosaur era, into the modern era, touching all aspects of that, and 100 years worth of baseball players or age groups, I would say, for you probably, with the people that you touched in the late 80s that were still around the game. Tommy Lasorda, for crying out loud, who had touched the game in the 40s and the 50s. Now we're, getting into the 20s of another century, and this statistical part of this is, like you said, it's not going away. From what my understanding, it's more like a gospel sort of thing in a lot of places these days, right?
It is, but at the same time, it's just I think it's a predisposition of how you look at your job, your career, the decisions that you make. Are you trying to replicate something that's been done, or are you trying to find a better way? And I think in terms of the analytics, it's people that are searching for a better way or some type of edge on the competition. That's all it is. I mean, I can give you, and some people just, they put up the wall, right, when analytics or some type of statistical research comes in and new terminology, and they put up a wall where they don't want it. But at the same time, I can tell you as a scout, I'll tell you back when I was working for the Rockies, they say, hey, we need you to fly down to Dallas to watch this kid. And I go down there, well, Trevor Story, who hit a bunch of homers last year. Well, Trevor Story's out there, and I said, hey, this kid's going to hit a lot of balls in the air. Well, if you look at advanced statistical research, they really, guys that hit the ball in the air and have exit velocity at a certain degree, they're going to hit a lot of homers. Well, that was me eyeballing it, saying this guy's going to, and a lot of scouts would say, hey, this guy's going to hit a lot of balls in the air. Well, once they put launch angle on it, once the statistical guys and the geeks in some people's mind throw launch angle on it, they don't want to hear it. Well, it's the same thing that scouts have done forever. Going, hey, if this guy's going to hit a lot of homers, he can't be top spinning the ball. He's got to have some backspin and some carry and some loft. No different than how I was taught to look at guys that might hit homers. And they've just put a name on it, and somehow they can rate it in terms of launch angle. So the people that put up the wall that they don't want to hear anything about statistical analytics, to me, are not opening up their mind to the possibilities of how they can get better and make better decisions.
And to your mind, they're almost unemployable from the business side now these days. Like, if you're, to the point of your book, if you want to be involved, you have to accept this. I mean, and I guess for someone like you, it started to make sense at some point when what your eyeball is seeing and what the statistical analysis, it either supported what your eyes saw or it challenged what your eyes saw to try to look at it a different way, right?
If you're not going to have a wall up, then you might be able to figure that out. That's what I mean. If you're in search of a better way or some fashion to do something you're just not beholden to past tradition, then you're in position to actually progress and get better. So, and that's an underlying theme in my book, is that you have a progressive mind, that you look at situations and all these things. I can't write in this book that these are all the details to remember about how to scout. You know what? You're going to have to figure out how to scout. But what I will tell you, I'll show you how I was taught starting in 1991, before Jeter and Bernie and Pettit and Posada and Rivera and all those guys showed up in New York, by Bill Livesey, the guy who ran scouting and player development, and he was taught by Jack Butterfield. And these guys taught me how to scout, and I try to relay that in the book. The whole scouting part of it is basically how I was taught, but I want the reader to experience it through my inexperienced eyes back then. So I try to put some stories in there. It's not a dry academic thing. It is in some parts, I got to be honest, because I need to put this information down so that people can know that there is a lot in the qualitative analysis of professional baseball. There's a lot there that people aren't giving credit to. Much like probably you're saying, the old timers knew what they were doing now. Nobody ever wrote it down. And so what I felt like with this book is that, especially being trained by Bill Livesey, who, to me, in my mind, I don't want to offend anybody, but Bill Livesey and Paul Snyder with the Braves, but Bill Livesey with the Yankees, those two guys were the best in the modern era as far as scouting and player development. And I was fortunate enough to be taught by him. And, eventually all those Yankee teams start showing up where a lot of Oriole fans got upset. But at the same time, that the lessons that he taught me and the way he taught it is exactly how I try to put it in the book. And the stories of an inexperienced guy trying to learn this. So if you don't know anything about scouting, but you're a baseball fan, it's going to be great for you to read, because I think those stories in there, I'm trying to say, hey, I'm talking about when I'm running out and not knowing about anything hardly of what I'm doing, what I was first taught, and how I'm going out to watch a game, and Derek Wallace was pitcher of Pepperdine, and Aaron Boone's a little freshman kid at USC, and how I viewed that through my eyes, I try to convey to the people that want to learn more about scouting.
He is Bill Guyvette. He has written a book here, and a long-time scout, insider, general manager with the Colorado Rockies, as well as through other organizations, including Tampa and L.A. and the Expos and the Yankees from out in California. The book is called "Do You Want to Work in Baseball? Advice to Acquire Employment in MLB and Mentorship in Scouting and Player Development." Last thing for you. Missed the game? I obviously missed it enough to write a book, and I've written a couple of books. It's a labor of love to write a book, and certainly from your perspective, having so many people hitting you up for a job or trying to get a job or sending resumes your way. This is something that I obviously wasn't out on the marketplace, but you're still a young man, Bill. Still involved in baseball out there in Colorado?
I am. I felt like I was still working in baseball trying to write this book. It's not like I'm some author that sits around contemplating and smoking a pipe and writing books. I mean, this was hard work, man. You get a baseball guy who's been doing that all his life to write a book. That's not easy. That was hard work. So at the same time, I'm still digging into baseball and how I learned it and all that. So from that, I really didn't miss the game. I certainly do not miss the travel. I think I miss the people involved in the game that I know well and seeing them on a more regular basis. I think that's the biggest thing of not being active with a club right now. But, I got some other things going on that are in and around baseball I can't talk about right now, but we're putting together. So at some point, maybe I'll have to come on the show and talk about that too.
Well, good luck, man. I really appreciate that the book found its way into my Twitter feed, and that you gave us a couple minutes of your time to come on and talk about it. Love talking some baseball. Next time, we'll actually talk about stuff going on the field or something. That'd be a lot of fun. I appreciate the time today, Bill. Good luck with the book.
All right, Nestor. Thank you.
You got it. You can find the book at InsideBaseballOperations.com. He's also out on Facebook with it. And, of course, you can get it on Amazon. And if you do, make sure you use our Give a Spit app and at Amazon. Help our friends at There Goes My Hero for leukemia research and for the bone marrow registry as well. Lots of testimonials here from Tommy Lasorda, Clint Hurdle, Dayton Moore, amongst many others. The website, again, is InsideBaseballOperations.com. And that's Bill Guyvet. It's spelled Geivett. And the book is Do You Want to Work in Baseball? So you can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper reaches your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That is powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but not least, any other breaking news, Dan Duquette makes a trade. Something's happening with the Ravens with a quarterback coach. You'll get it first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.